Hey guys, Art131, and we are in week 9. We're talking about assignment 17, 18, and homework. So, number 17, ink techniques. Okay, we're going to be learning to work with an ink pen, and it doesn't mean, unless you want to, it doesn't mean ink well with a pen like that. It can be a Sharpie type of pen. Now, there's other pens, various makes of pens to use other than a Sharpie. There's one made by Pentel, Hybrid Technica. That's the one I have. And it's an 0.8. So a 0.8 is probably in the middle, not too thin or too thick. And you don't want a Sharpie. If you're going to use a Sharpie with a felt tip, that's going to be too thick. So it's sort of like the real small dot, but not a felt. So this says 0.8. So I mean, if you can govern it by that and get a pen like that, or try some, but it should be sort of in the middle, not really, really, really small or anything large. And I'll show you some examples of what I'm talking about. Like if you were to take this one as an example, and you get a little bigger. Nope, that's not going to do it. I don't know where it went. Okay, never mind. Well, there they are. This is stippling. So you just see the little fine point, but it's not so fine. They make them finer than that. I don't want that. You don't have to go that fine. This somewhere in the middle. But it's a Sharpie type pen that leaves an ink dot rather than a ballpoint pen. That's not going to work. And colored markers, no. Let's use black. And what I want you to do is make at least 4 or 5 of these different ways of making the mark. Now, with ink, the way you shade is by making a bunch of marks that are very condensed or not condensed, saturated or not. That's where you make your light shade and your dark shade. It depends on how many marks you're putting together and how congested they are together. Intense, whatever word you want to use, makes it lighter or darker because you're using the paper to show through, to be light. And very few marks. Then you gradually get down to this area on the stippling where it's very congested. They're all very intense and together and saturated. It gets darker and darker because you're losing the white paper. Same with the hatching. This is a cross hatching where you're putting straight and diagonal lines together, and then even vertical and horizontal lines that pretty soon start blocking out all the white paper. And that's how you're making it look like a darker side of your object. So the ball has a shape, right? It's round. You're showing the round shape just like you would with graphite, but you can't shade like with graphite with a pen. You have to use marks. And this one I like a lot. It's the scribble mark. Take on that. Very few here, some not, but it's just very few that start getting more intense as the ball goes around to where the light is not showing or hitting on the ball. It's hitting up here. The light's hitting up here, but not back here. So that's why you're making more and more marks, so it gets darker and darker. So I want you to practice these on one page. Do 4 or 5 of them. Here's just 4 examples. I'll show you, hopefully, if I don't lose the whole thing, another row of examples here. They say this is linear hatching. It's just, you're going across one way rather than making all the cross hatches. And then you have your stippling, you have your scribbling. They also contour, let me see if I can find an example of that. Random lines, that's kind of like the scribbling. Cross-hatching. Cross-hatching, like this one, can go in with the contour of the shape. So they're going in a round shape around the ball. That's different than the other one. The other one was straight across, straight across. So here's more of the contour look. So it's, going with the shape of the ball. And they get more and more intense down here. Cross-hatching, they're not really going with the shape of the ball much, but they do get intense back here and light here. Just like the stippling, just like the scribbling, just like hatching. That's sort of like the linear hatching I was just showing. Let's look at these. There's some pretty good ones. And these, I'm not sure what those were called, but they're kind of little sections where you're using kind of a little section like patterns. One, going back and forth, and then this section back and forth. They're short lines. They're not going all the way across the ball. This can show a really good shape that way. Different ways to make the scribble lines. So they call this maybe random lines, scribble lines here, stippling, contour hatching, and contour lines that get intense. Any way you make a mark, vary less marks, more marks, more till it gets darker back here. That's how you're showing the shape of the ball. That's what I want you to do. Show the shape of the ball. Do 4 or 5 of them on one page. That's going to be for this assignment. Ink techniques. So you can practice them and learn how to make a shape showing your light source, and the ball is representing the light source. Darker back here, lighter here, mid-tones in the middle. And you get that done by putting less marks or more marks or a lot of marks. And it's a gradual transition from light to dark. It doesn't all of a sudden get dark. This is all the mid-tone area right in here. And then it gets a little darker and very dark back here. Same with this, same with this, same with all of them. Very little, a little more, a little more, a little more as it goes back around the ball. So that's what I want you to do, is practice those ink techniques all on one sheet of paper and send that in, and then we're going to talk about ink drawing. You're going to take these techniques and draw an actual picture, okay? And, the eyeball here is just one example of that. They're using several techniques here. I don't see stippling, but when I get to there, I'll show you stippling drawings and cross-hatch drawings and scribble drawings. And then you can pick one or the other or combine them. That's okay to combine them too. But don't do it like this in your ink techniques, because this isn't showing a shape. It's just showing the marks. It's all uniform across whatever this is. A circle. It's not really a ball because it's just a circle. You go back to these and you're showing a shape of a ball. This is all the similar marks, but they're showing you several ways to do that. Or you can do an egg. Okay, here's the egg. Here's scribbles, stippling, sort of the cross-hatching, contour lines. You can make up the marks too. if you're good at it, if you know what you're doing and you're going to show the shape of your ball. These are even have the reflection mark on the other side of the egg right here. It's a little light there showing the reflection area off the table, and then light source on top, and then all the mid-tones and darker tones here. This is a really good one. So do something like this, the egg, the ball. You doesn't have to be the egg of the ball. You can make some other shape that has some sort of rounded surface to it, like shells or starfish or little fish. They have a round sort of shape to them. You can show the light source and their shape the same way. It doesn't have to be the egg of the ball, but the egg of the ball is all I'm asking for. If you want to do more, that's fine. Or do some other sort of shape that has a rounded surface to it. Okay? Okay, we're going to leave it at that and start getting all your prior work. We're heading toward the end of the semester now, and you should be turning in as much as that prior work as you possibly can to get caught up. So you're not coming into the last week and having all this work to do. And then the last week as well, I want you to mat and frame one of your best artworks and send that to me in a photograph. We'll talk about that a little more later.